Today, our session will focus more on cybersecurity intelligent practice. So why is it a must for today's enterprise? So we'll do more on a sharing of best practices in cybersecurity. But more than that, we will share also to you the trends that is happening in the market right now. What are the threats? What are the latest tactics, techniques, and procedures that the hackers are using? And how we combat these threats to be able to survive this ever-evolving cyber world. Let's understand first the motivation. Let's step back, no? Why do hackers do what they do? Why are they attacking enterprises today? These are four motivations of that. Political, ideological, economic, socio-cultural, and military. For attacks targeting enterprise, the main reason is economic. No, it's more on personal or corporate gain. They want to extort money from their victims, right? So, like for example, the ransomware. So they will push the ransomware into your infrastructure, tell you that you have been ransomware, give you a notification, and then saying that we decrypt all your file, encrypt all your file, and we will only decrypt it. We will give you the decryption key if you pay, for example, 4 million pesos, right? So that's the way that the attackers are doing it right now. Here in PLDT Smart, for the last 2 months, there are a numerous customer approaching PLDT for help because they get ransomware through the classic phishing, their email were getting compromised, and we have to understand that the weakest link in any cyber attack in our organization is our employees, right? So we have to have a good cybersecurity awareness and training for them. Others, like political and ideological, is mostly on the government side, like take, for example, the black energy malware, right? Socio-cultural, you don't get further anymore, right? What happened to the COMELEC, no? So the website of COMELEC got defaced because of some protests against our government. And military, they are using it as spying to other countries like, the superpowers, China, US, Russia, and even the war that is happening right now between Ukraine and Russia. More than the physical war, there is an underlying cyber war ongoing. We have prepared some sharing of what is happening in the retail and logistic industry, and later on also on manufacturing. We researched latest breach that happened so that we will have a greater understanding that cybersecurity cuts across all industry. So this well-known brands. And unfortunately, there is one retail company here in the Philippines who got breached in 2021, right? So the incident is that a data breach compromises the contact information of thousands of customers of that retailer, and it hit 22,000 customers, at least exfiltrated data, So that is the first reason why these hackers are doing what they do, even on the retail setting, right? So the crown jewel that they are targeting in your organization are your customer data. So the others are compromised, included customer names like name and group, contact details, payment card information, right? So those are the ones being targeted by the hackers. And that is valuable. In the dark web, they are selling credit card information. They are selling personal identifiable information. You will wonder sometime, right? Somebody's texting you, but you don't know how they get your numbers, right? Because it's being sold online. It's being sold on the dark web. Now we further analyze why this hack happened, why these breaches happened, and contemplate on what could have this company could have done better to prevent those attacks. And this is the result. So I will still use the Philippine retail company who got breached, right? So the analysis on the incident that happened to them is that, again, a ransomware attack. So this is 2021, but there is a ransomware already being used, was launched against this retailer, and they don't have visibility or whatever security control on their endpoint. So number one, guys, in cybersecurity, just knowledge sharing, visibility is absolute. Visibility is very important in cyber because you cannot protect, number one, what you do not know, and you cannot protect what you do not see. So if I ask you here, do you actually know how many specific assets do you have in your infrastructure? That is a direct question. I don't know if you have a direct answer to that, but you contemplate. If you don't know the answer, that means that you have a lot of bases to cover. But at least if you have an idea, you tell me, Alex, I have at least 1,500 assets in my infrastructure. Then good, because you have an idea of how many of those assets. Now, the next question to that is, do you have visibility on those assets? Do you see those assets in your infrastructure? If and when a cyber attack happened to those assets, could you easily respond and recover? That's the question. Now, for this specific Philippine retailer, if they could have invested on an endpoint advanced security to protect the asset and device from ransomware, it could have happened because they have visibility. Right then and then, when the ransomware hit them, the endpoint advanced security solution would alarm them and would mitigate that attack. Now, the realization here is that, sometimes company is saying that, Alex, for the last 5 years, we haven't hit by any attacks, right? So again, I will go back to the perspective of it's not longer a question of if and how, but it's a question of when. When will your organization be breached? No? So yun na lang yung tanong ngayon. And the realization to that is even when that breach happened, that could have a catastrophic effect to your organization in terms of financial, right? Your revenue will go down, the trust of the customer will be gone. Now, what if I invested something or some portion of my revenue in at least fortifying and enhancing my cybersecurity control to be able to protect my infrastructure? Then I think it's a better business case, right? Again, in cybersecurity, we're not saying that, this is a CapEx center, no? But more on cybersecurity controls protect your revenue. That's the realization. It's not actually a cost, but it is a protection to your revenue if and when a successful cyber breach happens. Now, how does the framework goes in the retail or logistic industry? No? How do they do cybersecurity? So this is on a global setting. No? So first, they establish IT governance. Again, they invest in training. The weakest link in any cyber kill chain is your employee. No? So the latest breach that I attended in one of the manufacturing customer of PLDT Enterprise, the problem is the employee downloaded and clicked a link sent through a phishing email. So that's how the malware got into their system. So again, because of lack of cybersecurity awareness and technical savviness, so the whole organization was affected, right? So you have to you have to inculcate in the cybersecurity awareness training to your organization. Leverage on different frameworks like NIST. NIST is the most popular one in the industry for cybersecurity. Neutralize third-party risk and benefit through industry partnership. No? So cybersecurity, that's why we are doing this in PLDT Enterprise, the evangelization like this, because we believe that, cybersecurity should be an ecosystem. No? So you need the expertise of the vendor that is in there. You need the third party, the customers like you to join in. PLDT as a telco coming into the picture, all of us play an important role on this cybersecurity awareness campaign. And to combat this cybersecurity threats that is happening right now, we need the help of each other to be able to fortify and strengthen our defenses. No? Let's go into the manufacturing sector. So these are some of the breaches that happen. No? So again, the concept here is that it cuts across all industry. I want to take on a JBS Food, this incident. Imagine, they are a meat processing company, guys. So how do you think that the hackers would be interested on a company that is processing meat, right? But the Rebel Group ransomware exploited them and they paid around $11 million worth of Bitcoin, no? So this is paid through Bitcoin, not even money, no? Currency in dollars, no? So meaning, Bitcoin is untraceable. No? So hackers are getting highly sophisticated, highly trained, and highly organized. Now, to understand what really happened, so this is what happened to that. No? The rebel hackers were able to infiltrate the JBS network and deploy ransomware. Again, there is no control that was in place to protect it. And most often than not, those are being targeted by the hackers are really the endpoints. Again, if they could have deployed an endpoint advanced security to have visibility in those assets, it could have ever happened. No? So now, let's move on how they are doing cybersecurity in manufacturing and logistics. So they have a different approach in manufacturing. No? They have very specific industry services. No? They do a risk-based approach. So they understand first the risk, right? These are the things that they are doing, at least in the manufacturing and logistics. No? Identifying the vulnerabilities, segmentation is really important. Later on, I will share to you as well how we do it in PLDT as a telecommunication provider. Multi-layered IT security. So they are doing a layered approach in terms of security, multi-layered approach in terms of security.